little bit of a small problem because I have to move this office out from this particular location. So I'm currently at a, so my office is currently at a house which we got rented out, and week before last week, we got the message that we have to vacate the place by next week. So this studio had to get moved and all. So all these things, I'm trying to do this during the out of the period, out of the week. And last week we actually had a small event. So that was the final day at office, and also that's why we couldn't continue. So anyway, after I just move this thing out, then everything will get back to normal, and we'll be able to work on it smoothly. So yes, so last week during the last class we had a problem. We had this lightning issue, so that's why we had to finish it off early. But then again, yeah, let's continue from there where the location we just left off. So during the last class we talked about different type of servers which we have, and just to give you guys a glimpse about this thing. So I was actually doing some research for the last few days about building a data center. So I'm trying to get in touch with a person, and we actually have a plan of building a data center in Sri Lanka. So it's going to be something interesting where it will be mainly focused towards AI and artificial intelligence servers and services, where we will be basically giving out server resources. Anyway, so if you guys have any questions about servers, you can actually ping me up, and then I can obviously let you know how it works. So yeah, so starting from so what we discussed last week was about the web servers and the types of servers, and now we talk about the web servers. Give me 1 second, guys. What's up? Why isn't this getting connected? Hold on. Okay, so yeah, so we will be learning more into detail about HTTP and how it works when we jump into HTML and when we start learning about web servers and all, right? Okay, so just to keep it simple, so we do have the type of servers where we call it as web servers, which are basically servers which is designed to host a website, right? So when you want to start off with some sort of a web application, what you do is you host it on a web server, which will be created in focus which is created in focus to serve a web page. Okay, so that's how this web applications and web servers works. So just to give you a glimpse about this HTTP, how the HTTP can, so how the Tim Berners-Lee can. So back in 1989, there was this guy called Tim Berners-Lee, who was a scientist, who was basically the person who came up with this way of communicating using this thing called HTTP. Okay, so what happened was he wanted to have some sort of a method of building applications so that he can share his data with other peers, which ended up by basically building something known as the internet and the HTTP system, where now we basically use for all our communication purposes. Okay, so now based on this, now we talk about connecting and using the internet. Okay, so now during the last class we briefly talked about this pattern about internet service providers. Give me 1 second. What's really going on with this thing? My remote got kicked out. Okay, yes, and I'm in. Okay, yes, I have control. Nice, perfect. So, something pretty much wrong with my Wi-Fi. Anyway, okay, yeah, it can solve. Perfect. So we talked about ISPs, Internet Service Providers. So you guys know we have these internet connections, which is basically getting into the country through undersea cables, and the ISPs are the people who are basically controlling it, right? So now an ISP basically provides all the required communication structure, including the telecommunication infrastructure with all the communication wires and whatnot, all the connectivity, plus ISPs are the people who are in charge of building the telecommunication network. So, in simple terms, ISPs are basically in charge of everything related to these type of communication systems. Okay, now, so that is about ISPs and web browsers. You guys obviously know what is a web browser is. So the idea behind the web browser is to basically load a web page, right? Okay, so since everybody is using different types of web browsers, here we do not go in depth into web browsers, but just to explain you guys what how it works is, a web browser is something which uses which we use to browse the internet, simple terms. But now these web browsers are actually really complex. So web browsers have something known as an engine, which basically processes HTML content. So do you know how many types of web browsers are there? අපේ primary web browsers ටික මොනවද ලෝකේ තියෙන? Dinal, any clue? Sorry? Google Chrome, yeah, but and no, Opera is a browser, but I'll show you where it goes first. So we have Chrome, yes, and what is the next? Sorry? Microsoft Edge is also actually part of Chrome, Google Chrome. What else? Safari, perfect. Yeah, Safari is the second type. What's the third one? තව එකක් තියෙනවා. Firefox, exactly. So, in the world, we do have 3 different types of browsers. Okay, so if you take Chromium. So, Chromium is basically the main engine behind these browsers. Brave, Edge, Opera, and there's a bunch of different browsers. So, what you have is actually something known as the Chromium engine. Okay, so this is the Chromium engine. Actually, it's like this. So Dinal, you can actually download this. You can literally download the Chromium engine, and you can create a browser called Dinal, and you can sell it. As well as you can add some features to it. Like example is like if you take Opera has a massive lot of features where you can integrate different chats and AI and so on and so forth. So what all these guys do is they basically use the Chromium engine, and then based on the Chromium engine they have built different browsers. Okay, so we have Chromium and we have Mozilla. So we have the Mozilla Firefox, that is another engine, and we have the Mozilla engine. So yeah, Hari, okay, Avishka, all good. Nah, over there, no issue. And we have the so these 3 are the actual engines which literally runs the entire entire world. Okay, so we have the Gecko engine, which is running through Firefox. We have the WebKit engine, which is Safari, which is basically again open source, which runs all the Safari web browsers, and we have the Chromium engine. So these three are the open source three engines. You can basically download this and create your own browser as well. It's not that hard. If you know how to ask ChatGPT the correct prompts, you can obviously build something on your own. Okay, so that's how it works. And all of these uses something known as the V8 engine. Okay, so the V8 engine, අපි අහලා තියෙන V8 අපේ V8 නේ V8 ලොකු වාහන engine එකනේ. Not that one. We actually have an engine known as the V8 JavaScript engine. So the V8 JavaScript engine is actually something which was created by Google, and on top of this engine, all the JavaScript frameworks basically the engine let us use all the JavaScript frameworks on top of this engine. So JavaScript is basically the browser's programming language, where you type all the conditions and all sorts of programming needs which you need to do on a browser. You do it through JavaScript. So nowadays JavaScript is actually one of the most common languages in the world also, because almost 90, let's say not 90, about 50% of all the applications which you have on mobile and online is actually, on mobile it's about 50%, but online almost 100% of all the applications are based on JavaScript. Example is WhatsApp, the WhatsApp mobile, the WhatsApp desktop, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, it's based on JavaScript. Okay, so now going back to the browser story. So ultimately, a browser is a combination of these set of items. So it is a browser engine plus you have the V8 engine to support the JavaScript. Okay, so examples of web browsers: Mozilla, Google Chrome, and you can see there's the point called the Internet Explorer. Yes, Internet Explorer, which is no more. So what we have is Microsoft Edge now. So until I think about 5-6 years ago, what we had was Windows machines had a browser known as the Internet Explorer. So that was actually one of the early level browsers which we got introduced in from Windows 1998, I think, Windows 98. So from that time onwards, Windows Explorer was there, Internet Explorer was there, and then we jump into these ones. Who is using Brave? Brave.
Yeah, I am using.
You use Brave? Okay. In Brave, do you know that you can browse the Onion network? No, right? Have you tried it out?
No, sir.
Okay, do you guys know what is the Onion network? Onion router. Have I showed you that part?
No, sir.
Do you know about the dark net or the deep internet or the dark internet?
The dark web?
The dark web, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Kialaval, what do you know about the dark net?
I heard about mobile PhD.
Okay, yeah, very right. Okay, so there is no such thing as the dark internet. Okay, so how it works is I know there's a thing called the dark web. So the dark web is actually the term. It says dark, not because it has nasty things, not because it has bad things. We call it the dark web because it is not visible to the normal internet. That's why we call it dark. නැතු මේ drugs වත් තුවක්කුවත් මොනක්වත් විකුණන නිසා නෙවෙයි ඒක darknet කියන්නේ. So that's the reason we call it the darknet, because it is actually disconnected. So I showed you guys how a domain works, right? IP address එක තියෙනවා. So the IP address works through the DNS, and the browser is basically making the request now. So just think, we have a bunch of servers without a domain name. Okay. So when you have a bunch of servers without a domain name, how do you connect? Technically, there is no way to connect, right? So for that, what we have is something known as the onion router. Onion, Lunu thing. It's actually known as the onion router. So how it works is, it basically allocates a domain name for those servers. But in order for you to browse the internet, you cannot browse it with the normal methods of browsing. You need to have something like an onion router, or a browser which has the onion router capability, so then you can browse it. Okay, so I will show you how to do that, but wait until the end of the class, and then I will just give you guys a brief on like show how the onion router works, okay? Because that's something specifically extra. Okay, so then yeah, so at that point you guys can understand how it works. So jumping into search engines. So browsers, we talked about how browsers works. Now we have search engines. So search engines are simple stuff where it provides users with a way to find something online, right? Nowadays, with all the AI capabilities and stuff like that, with all the AI features, not stuff like that, with all the AI features, these search engines are now much more powerful than back in the day. So example is, Google has Gemini, their AI integrated into the Google search engine. So if you ask a question, automatically what you get is something like a proper structured answer based on an AI generated output, where you will see some more details of that particular question without going into a website, right? So likewise, you do have a lot of different types of search engines which will do that process. So here we don't talk here we don't talk that much of into complexity, but when we go into the unit 3 in operating online, we will talk a little bit more about search engines. Okay, so just for your reference, I will tell you guys a quick point. So the search engines, they are also type of a bot. Okay, Kemith, can you remember I told you about these bots where they keep on creating user accounts? Right?
Oh yeah, so
Yes.
the problem is this
With
camera
camera
LK, right?
LK, yes. So similar to that, we do have bots where, so now those are some nasty bots who basically tries to damage the business. But at the same time, we do have good bots as well, who will basically go through your website and try to index. Index means when you create a website and when you put it online, you have to tell Google to come and index your website. Index means that we have to tell Google, these are the pages I have. Okay, so we have to tell Google, okay, these are the set of pages I have. Please go through these pages and save it to the search engine. Okay, so I will show you guys a quick demo on that. So Google has a system called Webmaster Tools. Google Webmaster Tools. So when you go into Webmaster Tools, I'll show you how it works. Let me take a property. Let's take my website, ICT Sri Lanka. So here, when we go into the property, you can see some performance insights are there. So these performance insights basically shows how many people have searched for this particular website online. Okay, and here you can see something known as the sitemaps. මෙතන sitemap එක. හරි. So in the sitemap you can see here it has a number of pages which is submitted to Google. Okay, so which are submitted to Google. So what happens is Google basically goes through these pages, this set of pages, and it will index. So here you can see there are 96 pages which is not indexed, and you have 47 pages which are currently indexed in the Google search engine. Okay, so you can see all the page data is here, and if I click on the view data on the indexed pages, you can here see, so these are some sample pages which is already indexed. So here let's go to the page and see. So this is basically just a blog article about software essentials. So if I try to copy this name, okay, and if I search this on Google, it's the first result. See, so that is how basically search engines work. So we have to tell the search engine, here you go, this is the website, this is my site, these are the pages, please go through this and index. So that's the basic idea behind search engines. Okay, so that's how it works. But there is also like different types of search engines where what they do is they crawl through the internet. So we call them crawlers. Okay, crawler කියන්නේ පොඩි මොකෙක් හරි එකෙක් උඩට නැගගෙන යනවා crawlers. So these crawlers are again type of bots which we can say those are like good bots who does not want to damage your system, but what they want to do is they want to go through and index your website by reading the content. So these crawlers goes through the content and then they try to basically figure out what type of data is there. And then we jump into the point about the keywords. Now when we optimize a website, which is also known as search engine optimization, SEO කරනවා කියලා කියන්නේ, that's the point. So when you optimize a website, what we do is we basically put a certain set of keywords on the page. So when we put the certain set of keywords on the page, then when the crawler goes through it, the crawler can just like that immediately find out what it is and get the load the page details. Example is, I think the best example what I can say is we have camera LK. So camera LK, we have indexed it in a specific way so that whatever the keyword you are going to select or search, you will get that particular product. So we have like close to 14,000 products in camera LK, which is specifically indexed with those specific keywords, which if I search for a camera model, so let's say if I search for a Sony camera model, Sony A6400, and if I press enter, first result. So likewise, we used so there are like specific algorithms which you can use to create these keywords, and then you can analyze. See, now when you check this one out, we have the camera LK website, and then still the Sony website is way down. See, so if you check this up, the first result is camera LK obviously, and then we have another camera LK website which is known as the second option. Then we have some sort of other camera shop, and then only we have Sony's official website. Okay, so that's what we do with SEO optimization. Okay, so now ultimately as the consumer, when you search just like that, you get the search result. Okay, but it's not easy. Yeah? That's what I just wanted to show you guys how what's the process is. It's a massive process to make sure that you guys can see the Search result. Okay, can I ask? Okay, so why do we want to get on top of the search? Do you guys know why? Moreover, there's a nice joke when it comes to search engine optimization. Where's the safest place to hide a dead body? What do you think? If you kill someone online, where's the safest place to hide the dead body?
Underground?
No, on the second page of Google. Hey, nobody goes to the second page of Google. Have you ever gone to the second page of Google?
I never heard of that, sir.
Huh?
I never heard of that.
Nah, second page means okay. So when you search for something on Google, okay, you guys know that there is a pagination on the bottom, right? See, you have pages.
Yeah.
මේක දැකලා තියෙනවද මීට කලින්?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but have you ever clicked on the second page and checked what is there?
No.
No.
No, sir.
Yes. So that's why they say it's the safest place to hide someone. Hide a dead body on the second page of Google because nobody ever goes to the second page. So that means now let's say if Dinal come up with a website, your website you should be on the first page. If you're not on the first page, then you're not on the internet, basically. That's why we spend a massive lot of time now since I do run a search engine SEO company. Now I have optimized my particular name with a massive lot of keywords. So if you just search as Vipula ICT, you get first result. So the first entire page is about me, my YouTube channels and details, personal profiles and now everything. So there are certain ways where you can actually optimize and get yourself up. Okay, perfect. So why we do this? It's basically marketing. So if you are in the first page of Google, when somebody search for you, they can see you. So that means ultimately you end up getting the project or the contract or whomever, whatever the service you are going to provide. Okay, so that's a brief about search engines. I hope it's clear. I know it's a bit complex, but that's how things work. Okay, then we have this thing called filter softwares. So filter softwares, this is actually something which we saw during the last class, where I showed you guys how to filter a domain or some sort of a user from accessing a certain set of pages. Dinal කවරි block කරාද නෑනේ තාම? Sorry. Okay, I thought you might have blocked someone from the router. Okay. Okay, so now, okay, so this filtering softwares. Okay, so there are different types of filtering softwares. You know, these are like so these are similar to firewall, but usually what happens is this gets coupled into a firewall itself. So you get the filtering software and it is installed on top of a firewall where you can actually filter it. And you know what? These firewalls are very expensive. So as far as I remember, my previous office, when I was working at my previous employer, and they purchased 2 firewalls. This was long time ago, I think back in 2014 or something. It was 1 million each. 1 million each, one firewall. So they purchased 2, and those firewalls, they had a massive filtering system. So they were able to blacklist a certain set of sites based on specific locations within the office. So yeah, example was we had different teams. So different teams had different type of access, like had access requirements. So the best example what I can say is we had a data entry team who was supposed to like copy paste data from couple of websites into another database, and for them, so their job was a bunch of young teenagers were working on this team. So they were like spending time on YouTube and Facebook and all. So what they did was they completely blocked out all the social media from that particular team itself. Since it's part of the network, they were able to block them out. Right? Likewise, using these filtering softwares, you do have a massive you get a massive let's say flexibility, so that you can block and control whatever the access where you get. So when we went through the last module where we saw this routers point, that is also almost the same concept where you can actually block a certain set of items from the router itself. Okay, so how it will work is it will focus on a specific point of a URL, and then based on this URL it will check if that URL type matches, and then it will block it off. Plus the point I told you about now the point I told you about keywords for search engines. So these filtering softwares, they do have their own databases where they have keywords and domains mapped with each other. So let's say if you want to block out Steam and all the gaming websites, you have an option to block games, and when you select that, all the games are blocked. That's how this child protection system also works, where you can block adult sites, adults only links, as well as YouTube. So if you block it, or you get only access to the YouTube Kids, likewise. Okay, so that's the goal of the filtering softwares. Okay, then we jump into an interesting point where we talk about LANs, local area networks. Okay, super. So in local area networks, we do have, so guys, yeah, so for this we have two different types of networks. Okay, so technically we will be learning, give me 1 second. Yeah, okay, so we will be learning about two primary points. Be careful, you're getting questions about this, peer-to-peer networks and client server networks. So we'll start from peer-to-peer. So the primary type when it comes to peer-to-peer is where you basically connect two PCs together. Okay, so one peer to another peer. Okay, so how this works is you connect two different items together so that you get a full network. Okay, so before we jump into this one, who downloads torrents? How do you guys download movies online?
From the movie download apps.
Download apps?
Yes.
Okay. Don't you guys use torrents?
Using.
You use torrents?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So that's good to know. So you know when you start a torrent, how it works is it will first try to find the network, right? Then it will show you a certain set of people who are already there in the network, right? So basically, torrents works in a similar way. Okay, so it's like this. I'll explain it using this particular scenario, then it will be much easier. So let's say if we have let's say if you have four PCs here, so I'm here, let's say Dinal is here, husband is here, and Kemit is here. Okay, so if all four of us are there, I create a file and I open it to the network. Okay, කියමු මට ෆිල්ම් එකක් හම්බ වෙනවා මොකක් හරි latest ෆිල්ම් එකක් හම්බ වෙලා මම දානවා ෆිල්ම් එක online හරි so what I do is in when it comes to the torrent architecture there is a thing called a torrent registry or a torrent seeding server. Okay, so I submitted my torrent file to that server. I submit my torrent file to that server with my information about my location. Right? Then let's say Dinal searches for that and he finds my torrent file. Okay, now he opens his torrent application and he starts downloading this. What happens is when he opens the torrent app, that torrent file you download that has a specific key which will say that this file is coming from my PC. Okay, then what his PC will do is his PC will automatically connect to my one and he will start downloading the file from my PC. Okay, so that is why torrents cannot be tracked. මොකද මගේ PC එක දිනාගේ PC එකට පේන්නේ නැහැ. That is hidden and that is only visible to the torrent network. Okay, so now let's say he starts downloading this. දැන් මෙයා ටික මේක download කරනවා. Then at a certain point, let's say he is just 50% done. Then husband comes into the scene. Now he also finds this torrent file. Then මෙයාත් download කරන්න පටන් ගන්නවා. Now Dinal has 50% of that file. I have 100%. I am the one who is seeding. Now, since Dinal has 50%, the torrent server says, okay, this guy has 100%, this guy has 50%. You can download from both of them. Then, since this is a peer-to-peer network, he will be downloading one part from my PC, one part from his PC. At the same time, Dinal will be downloading my file as well. So likewise, now you know when you have more seeders කියන්නේ මේක download වෙලා මෙහෙම ඔක්කොම ළඟාවට ගියාට පස්සේ these are all seeders. here මෙතන seeders ලා ලක්ෂයක් හිටියයි කියලා 1000ක් හිටියයි කියලා 1000ක් හිටියොත් when husband tries to download this file just like that he will get a high speed download because you're pulling it from all the peers together. Okay, so the peer-to-peer, so that is an example about the torrent peer-to-peer network. Okay, Tor works in a different way. The Onion network works in a different way. We'll talk about that later. But that's how that peer-to-peer system works. So back in the day, we had few peer-to-peer softwares like Bearshare, Emule, LimeWire, and so forth. So those were also applications which followed a similar concept, not the exact, but that also allowed you to download direct files. So that's the idea behind peer-to-peer networks. Anyway, whatever the resources which you can share between each other is known as a peer-to-peer network. Okay, clear neither? All good? Yeah? Okay, perfect. And then we come to the next architecture which is known as the client-server network. Okay, so the client-server network is basically the structure which we follow on day-to-day basis when it comes to all our internet needs. Now example is this call is actually going through Zoom, which is again connected through a server, right? So when you guys clicked on that link, what happened was your Zoom application sent a request to the server, wherever the Zoom server is, and then that request gave you the access to connect to this particular call which is already going on that server. Okay, so now when you think about it, all of these communication what we do is basically following the same concept. So we have a server and we have our machines. So whenever we connect to the server and the server performs some sort of an activity and we get the details back again. Okay, and this here we have an example, we have a printer. So how it works is, now since this is connected to the server itself, whatever the rest of the resources which is allocated to the server can be consumed means අපිට use කරන්න පුළුවන් system එකෙන් just by accessing this particular panel. Okay, so this client server architecture is basically the typical architecture when it comes to all the things: web applications, games, online chat, Facebook, Twitter, X, and Instagram, TikTok. All of these systems, they all work using the same concept as client server. So let's say if you are using TikTok, and if you want to, when you're browsing TikTok, what it does is you have your application over the web browser running the tiktok.com, and it is sending requests to the server. So you are not actually directly connected to anyone else. You are directly consuming it directly through the server, whatever which is data in the server, right? Okay, so now we were talking about the local area networks now. So why do we use local area networks and the benefits? Nowadays, a network is a must. So technically speaking, you can't live without an internet connection. So you need to be connected to some place, right? So that is one primary reason. And the second reason is, guys, please do note this down, because these are actually like typical exam questions. What are the benefits of connecting to a LAN? So primary benefit is you get the option of sharing peripherals. Peripherals means network එකට high කරලා තියෙන ඕනේ දෙයක්. So let's say if we have a printer connected to the network, then obviously you get access to the printer. A network access storage, a NAS, අපි කතා කරන්නේ storage devices ගැන. Storage device, then again you get access to that particular storage device. Whatever the peripheral which is already connected, which has a active connection, is going to work. So then since it's gives access, you can actually do a lot of stuff. You can do media streaming, you can print, you can communicate, and so on and so forth. So all these actions can be shared through one particular point. So I showed you guys my air purification unit some time back. So that is also connected to the network, and it is also connected to a server using the client server architecture. And I also have access to that server from the Xiaomi app. And when I perform an activity, when I turn it on from here, it will register that action in the server, and the server will send the message to my home internet where the device is connected to, and the device will receive the message. So I send the message to the server, and it's sent to my home, and the device starts to work, right? So that's the architecture behind this particular client server pattern, and that is one of the most beneficial things when it comes to internet LAN. Okay, have you guys heard about this term, LAN party? දැකලා තියෙනවද? අහලා තියෙනවද LAN parties? ඒ LAN parties කියන එක හරි ජොලි වැඩක් අය ඉස්සර කියන්නේ ගොඩාක් ඉස්සර. So අර මම පෙන්නන්න LAN party එකක්. We used to, so this was long time ago, very long time ago. Back in somewhere back in early 2000s. අපි මෙහෙමයි ගේම් ගහුවේ. This is pre internet. අපි බඩු ටික අරගෙන ඔක්කොම උස්සගෙන යනවා යාළුවෙක්ගේ ගෙදර කාගේ හරි. ගිහිල්ලා I do have some pictures on my Facebook account. I'm not going to go there. ඔන්න ඒ වගේ අපි යනවා බඩු ටික උස්සගෙන. I had a, so this is like back in 2004 2005 වගේ. no, somewhere 2005, 2006, I had a big CRT monitor PC, and I used to pack it up, and we used to meet up at a friend's place. Maybe the ඔක්කොම network කරගන්නවා. We connect everything, we get some drinks, and then we start playing games. So we used to play like lots of online stuff, Counter Strike, Call of Duty, and all these things. So it was a fun time because that was pre-internet, because we had internet back in the day, but it wasn't that fast, so we were not able to connect through online. මේක තමයි කරේ හැමෝම මේ විදිහට සෙට් කළා බඩු ටික ගෙනහලා තියලා, and this goes for about, let's say, goes for about, sometimes it goes for an entire weekend. So we get together on Friday and we play until Sunday afternoon or evening, and then we come back. Okay, so that is actually that is where this name came up as a LAN party. Okay, so I know you guys don't get to experience it now because of the internet is actually really fast. So even if you want to play a game, you can just play it online with everybody. So you don't literally have to go to a LAN party now. But yes, so that's the idea with the LAN party. So okay, then the benefits of using the client server networks. Okay, so primarily, since your connectivity will go through a server, right? So because of that reason, we do have a lot of control over to which type of a device or to which type of service you are going to get connected to. Example is primarily control of access rights. Okay, so control of access right means, now let's say if we have two applications, let's say okay, so these days we are building an application. I can't say exactly the customer, but it's an application for a construction company where this application can be or will be consumed or used by multiple people who are working in the industry. I mean, like literally people, engineers and all. So they do have different roles in it. So example is, now if you take a team, you have a driver who is going to literally drive the vehicle. We have an engineer, someone like a head engineer. Then we have teams, we have like electricians, architects, and so on and so forth. So for each user, when they access this particular application, they should be restricted to a certain set of features. This can be anything. This can be like to view something, or to edit something, or to post something, or to take a picture, some sort of a list of features. So how to do this? Technically, there is no way for us to restrict it from the device, no? Because you have the device, you can do whatever you want. So for that, what we do is we have a system called a role and permission management, where what we do is we create user roles. So in our backend, we have a certain set of users who are technically employees, who gets allocated with a specific role and a permission, or in this case, roles. So let's say we create a role called the architect, or let's say the head engineer, and the head engineer gets allocated a certain set of permissions, which when he logs in, he can see all the features we allocate him to see. And then we do have the same application which we deploy for normal workers, where when they open the application, they can only see the timesheet. So that's only there for them to clock in and clock out. Clock in කියන්නේ වැඩ පටන් ගන්නවා, clock out කියන්නේ වැඩ ටික ඉවර කරනවා. So they get those two features, to clock in and clock out, and that's it. Okay. So likewise, the control of access is one of the most crucial things which we get through going with the client server network. Then, as I just now explained, centralized administration. So centralized administration means, now in that application which I'm building, we have a backend, a super administration backend. So that is only that is only accessible through a different portal. Can be abc.com gathot abc.com/admin, and that administration is only available to a certain set of people. So they can manage all these factors like resources, user accounts, to manage passwords, to check whatever the support services which is there, to control like allocations, the fleet allocations, vehicles, let's say the specific tasks they have to do about the projects and locations and whatnot. All the details which can be managed by one location. So since we are working with a server, whatever the client who is accessing the server can be restricted, right? As well as we do have the centralized backups. So the centralized backups means, now let's say if we have this application distributed through all our devices, one with me, one with husband, one with Dinal, and one with Hansa, and so on and so forth, then again that is going to be a problem because you can't back it up, right? The data will be scattered around all the devices. So then when it comes to the server architecture, all the data will be stored in just one location. So you back it up and you call it a day. So it's quite easy to make sure that all the details are backed up and it is protected. Plus, when it comes to the client server architecture, we do get the shared software feature. So shared software means you install it once and you can see how it works throughout the entire system. So in this case, I'll tell you a different example. I'm not sure whether you guys have noticed it. Like if you go to a computer, I'm not sure whether your school computer labs has that ability, but if you take in a corporate environment, what we do is we do keep one machine dedicated to handle all the primary softwares. Okay, මම එක තව වෙන විදිහකට කියන්නම් මේ මෙතන okay, so let's say we are all in office area, and let's say if we are all using Windows. Right? Now you guys know that Windows is basically pushing updates every now and then, right? I think every other day you will get a notification saying new update, security, or some sort of an update where it will ask you to download. Now there's a problem, right? Now let's say if our office has 500 employees with 500 PCs, right? Then what happens if all 500 downloads this particular update every day? It's not going to work out, right? Number one, it's going to eat up the entire internet. Like it will require a massive bandwidth to perform all those downloads at once, right? As well as at the same time, it will be a very unmanageable, it will turn into a very unmanageable situation because some people will get the update, some people won't, and some people will have different softwares and so on and so forth. So for that, in Windows environments, we do use this client server architecture where we keep something known as an update server. Okay, so we have one machine for all 500 others. So let's say one machine to cater all the rest of the 500 machines, where we download the updates only to this particular server or to this particular PC. Okay, server එකක් normal PC එකක් තියන්න ඕනේ Windows PC ගන්න. So we keep that, and then every day the updates, so the rest of the machines, their updates are disabled by default. So they do not download the updates directly from the internet, but what they do is they communicate with the server, which is on the local area network, and then download the update from there. ඒක හරි ලේසිය. So while this was some time back while I was working at this company known as Creative Solutions. So they had over close to about 250 employees, and I was working closely with the network administrators where we created something known as operating system images. Okay, now let's say if Dinal is joining us for the first time today, it's quite easy. So what we do is we get the message, the server server guys, server admins, or the network admins, we send them a message saying, hey, there's a guy called Dinal joining us today, and he's a so and so. Let's say Dinal is a graphic designer. We say, okay, we have a new guy called Dinal who is going to be who is a graphic designer joining today. Can you please set up a PC? So using this shared software model, they can automatically plug in a PC to the network and immediately install Windows through the network to that machine without even going there. Somebody need to physically like walk there and turn on the PC. Current on has to turn on the PC and that's it. So through the network, they can push the software. Okay, fun part now these corporate environments, we have this thing called user access policies. So that means technically you are not permitted to install any software on your PC unless you get special permission from the management and the customers, and then only you can run something. So you guys know, like most of these offices, you can't even plug in a USB drive. Headset plug. It's all blocked out because of security reasons. So let's say you need another software, then you have to go and talk with the network guys and tell them, hey, I need this software installed. What they do is they push the software through the shared server. So ultimately, you get it installed, and based on these shared policies, you get access. Okay, nice. So I hope you guys got the idea about the shared software and how the service works. So then we have shared storage. So shared storage and file access, it's almost the same thing which I explained before. So since it's a client server model, whatever the data which is hosted in the server, you get access to it, right? Straightforward. And then we have another term. This is a key term. It's known as roaming profiles. Okay. So this roaming profiles is don't get confused with the keyword. Maybe roaming profile like think about this in a way where let's say, okay, so you have your user accounts on your machines, right? So you put the username and password and you just log into the PC, whatever the device you are using. Now let's say so I want to go to the other PC and I have to do something. Let's say my PC doesn't work due to some reason and I need to quickly switch to another one. So this roaming profile means that we do keep something called a access or a login server. Okay, so that is going to be another machine which will control our all access points. So access points, in this case, what I call as an access point is the user account. So all the user accounts are managed by one user management server. Here what it does is it authenticates the user through the network. So I can have one user account which is dedicated for me, and I can log in with that user account on any of the PCs which is there in the network, just like that. So that means there is no such thing as a single user account. So our accounts are automatically generated, automatically created based on wherever I log in. So if I access, let's say I work on one PC and this gets some sort of an issue and I have to move to another one, just like that, I can just go there, log in and start work. Okay, so that's the whole idea about this term called roaming profiles. Okay, so any questions so far? All good? Yeah.
Yes.
So ping me like disturb and ask if you have any questions. Huh? Okay, so then we have few simple points to talk about securing data on networks. Guys, be careful. When make questions, when make points. If you have a mark or someone and something with the hard copy, please do highlight it. Otherwise, at least highlight the points on the PDF file itself, because you get questions. So this is a very common question where they ask benefits of using peer-to-peer networks and benefits of using client-server networks. Okay, so these key terms are specifically questioned. So what type of controls, user rights, and so on and so forth. You get this question like it's kind of sometimes it's a bit jumbled, but you do get the question. This is a stapled question when it comes to these papers with the networking part. Okay, securing data on networks. Security is one of the most required things when it comes to a network, because අපි දැකලා තියෙයි ෆිල්ම්ස් වල එහෙම කැලි ගහලා මොන හරි අරගන්නවා network එකකින්, right? So කොටිම ගෝස් කවුද මෙයා මේ she, I can't remember exactly what. Yeah, Batman. Batman. Have you guys watched Batman and Superman? Superman and Batman, no, Batman and Superman movie, where
Yes, sir.
where the point where Superman dies. Yeah. AK, can you remember where Batman goes to Lex Luthor's mansion and hacks into the network? අතගත පල්ලෙහාට යනවා හොරෙන් ගිහිල්ලා මෙයාට අහුවෙන්නේ මේ කවුද Wonder Woman-ට අහුවෙන්නේ ගිහිල්ලා. Like, right? So I know you can't hack a network like that, but that's a comic movie, so yes. So anyway, whatever said and done, networks are actually fragile. So because it is something physical, no. So if it is something physical, there are points where you can have unauthorized accesses. So if you can plug in a network, plug in something in, someone can easily log into your network and do some damage. Example is what we did during the last class, where Dinal just entered his username and password by just looking at the dialog router, right? So if someone else gets access to his dialog router, අපි හිතමු දිනාගේ next door neighbor ඇවිල්ලා shape එකේ photo එකක් ගහගෙන ගියේ කියන router එකෙන්. හරිනේ? එතකොට now he has access to his network, right? He can do some damage and make some things, do some nasty things end of the day. So we have to be careful when it comes to these type of points. So primarily, how to prevent these, how to make sure things are safe, primarily based on logins and passwords, right? So logins and passwords are the typical base authentication method we have, where we can use it to log in a user and use a password to authenticate the user through the network. So login information and authentication information is always the primary entry point when it comes to a network, because every network has its own different types of authentication scenarios. And then on top of that, we do have firewalls. So firewalls is the one which I explained a few minutes ago, where I told you guys about these devices, firewalls and blocking devices, where it will basically make sure that the network is controlled based on the traffic. So when I told you guys about the network packets, how the data is being transferred, these firewalls can actually prevent unauthorized users, and in technical terms, unauthorized data packets, from accessing your network. So it's basically, as the name implies, firewall, ඇත්තටම මම දන්නේ සිංහලෙන් මොකක්ද කියන්නේ. කියන්නේ ගිනි බිත්තියක් කියලාද කියන්නේ? No idea. Okay. So firewalls are there. So the firewall is basically to prevent someone from crossing. So we do have different types of firewalls. So we have hardware firewalls and we have software firewalls. So that day when we saw the back end of that dialog router, that is technically a software firewall. So that is the firewall part which is there in the software. Plus, at the same time, you do have a firewall on your Windows machine as well. So just click on the start menu and type firewall. You will find the firewall options where you can modify and create firewall rules based on different softwares. Okay, so that is one point. As well as we have hardware firewalls. If that company bought 2 firewalls, 1 million each. Those are hardware firewalls. So I can show you what I'm talking about. So this is a firewall. So this is a brand called Sophos. So it is technically, it is basically a device. So these are type of devices. I think that company, they actually bought something like this, not a big one, but they do have different firewalls for multiple different networks. Example is now here, this is just a simple small firewall which you can use on couple of networks. But let's say if you need much more flexibility and controllability, then you can go with a firewall like this. And බලමු how to buy ගහලා ගාන. How much is it? You don't get the pricing, no? You have to send them a request and see. So these are actually being compared. These are being actually sold by nothing. So you can't buy it online. You have to actually go through someone like a server provider, and then we have to buy this. So these are like extremely high-end machines. So you have lot of features in this. So example is you can go with very utmost granular permission details. Example is, let's say if you have 5 people on the network, you can restrict one person, like you can write rules for a specific PC to block a specific software. So let's say if Dinal is listening to Spotify every day and he got caught listening to Spotify, then what we can do is we can, if we know his IP address, we can specifically block only Spotify on his PC. So when he tries to open Spotify, it won't work. There won't be any internet for that. Okay, so that's why we do need hardware firewalls where they give you much more powerful control. Okay, so that is about firewalls. And then we have encryption. So encryption is basically the process of scrambling or jumbling the data so that anyone unauthorized will not be able to see it. So basically how it works is, in simple terms, අපි බැලුවා නේද මේ about the WhatsApp messages. We checked the WhatsApp encryption part, right? As far as I remember, බැලුවා නේද නැද්ද? I think so, right? We went through the encryption part. So how it works is basically we do have multiple keys. So based on these keys, we use to encrypt the data. So technically, let's say if I'm sending a message from my PC to Azman's PC, then obviously how it's going to work out is he will have a specific key, and I will send the message encrypted using this specific key, so only he can open the file. So based on that, he will be only able to read this and see how it works. So we do call this using we do compress, or we sorry, not compress, we do encrypt this using a cipher code. Okay, so this is actually one method. There are multiple methods we do this, but a basic method is known as using a cipher code, and we call this as a Caesar cipher, where this would basically encrypt whatever the message which is already there with a specific code. So based on this code, then when somebody tries to access the data packet, you need to have the code in order to decrypt the message and to see how it works. Okay, so that is how this encryption, the whole encryption method works. So based on let's say based on different networks, we do have different types of encryption. So example is WhatsApp is using a different type of end-to-end encryption, and whatnot. All the chat applications, they do have their own encryption algorithms and so on and so forth. Okay, so that is the point. So here the keyword to take away is the cipher code. Okay, so if you get a question asking to explain an encryption method, this is the keyword should be there is an encryption method which is used to encrypt by text, which is known as Caesar cipher. Okay, and then what it does is this method basically shifts two letters to the left or by a set number of places, so that the number of places by which the letter have been shifted is known as the key. Example then that you guys will understand it properly. So yeah, let's jump into this one. Okay, so if you look at this example, you can see, so what happens is you take the entire alphabet like this, right? A, B, C, D, F, G up to Z, and what you do is you shift the number of points of the alphabet with a specific specific point. So here what we do is we take F and we replace it with the point B. So that means we are shifting 4 places, right? 4 places have been shifted. That means the alphabet will start from W, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D. So that means all the text will be changed according to this order. A would be W, B would be X, C would be Y, D would be Z, and likewise. Okay, so as long as you do not know the number of keys or number of items which has been shifted, there is no way for you to find and unencrypt or decrypt this message. Okay, simple. We used to do this while we were kids. We used to write cipher messages and send it to people. Now you guys actually can directly send it on WhatsApp. That's a different story. Back then, if you okay, so yeah, so that is one way. Okay, and then so that is, now the thing is, now these type of Caesar encryptions, they are actually Caesar cipher encryption is actually not a big thing, because it's very easy to crack. Because if you put that into an AI algorithm, just like that, it will tell you how many combinations are there, and it will directly show you this is the key. Just shift it back or forward and you get the answer, right? So that is, of course, can be easily done. But nowadays what we do is we do have different encryption algorithms, like symmetric key encryption, as well as public key encryption. So based on these methods, they do work in a different way. So symmetric key encryption is basically using the same key at both ends when they are processing the message. So that means the same key is used to encrypt and decrypt the data. So technically this, if you take WhatsApp, WhatsApp works in a similar way. So I can't remember whether we checked it. Let me show you that quickly. So give me 1 second. Dinal, what is your WhatsApp number?
Wait. That's 07.
Okay, hold on. 07, okay.
076.
072
Tick.
3, okay. No, don't say the number. Just put it on the chat. නැත්නම් මට තව කවුරුහරි call කරනවානේ. Sorry. Just put it on the chat. I'll show you how it works. Do you have me on your WhatsApp now? Do you have my WhatsApp number?
No, sir.
Okay, can you send me a message to this? Send a message to this number, not 777079697. Okay.
Wait.
Sent. Dhamma. Otherwise, type in your number. I will send you a message. Just want to show you how it works. Okay, so when you send the message for the first time, what you do is you start the chat. So once you start the chat, it will automatically create an encrypted connection between us where we will share a specific unique key. Okay? How is it?
I can get it. I don't know why.
Okay, just send me your number then. I will send you a message. Just put it on the chat. Okay. 3, 1, 3, 4. Okay, looking outside. Okay. Hi, I sent you a message. Did you get it?
Sir.
Yeah, got the message. Okay, now click on my name. Sorry, touch on my name. Okay, and you can go to the profile now, right? In the profile, you have this point known as encryption. This one. Okay, click on encryption. Press on encryption and show the code to the screen. See, බලන්න පුළුවන් screen code එක. Scan කරන්න බෑ. Scan කරාම එනවා නේද ඔයාලට?
Yes.
Okay, can you show your code as well? I think. So guys, this is how it works. So see, the code is the same. Nah, code එක. Sorry. Yeah, තව චුට්ටක් උස්සන්න. Yeah, see. So this is how it works. So both of us has the same code together. Alright, thank you, Dina. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So now I hope you guys got a clear idea how symmetric key encryption works. So what it does is when we get connected with each other, we share a single key. So whatever the message I sent to Dinal is encrypted using that particular key, and he can only open it since he has my details. Okay, so likewise, I hope you all have noticed on WhatsApp sometimes you get this message saying your security key has been changed with so and so, because sometimes what happens is when you change the device, when you change the phone number or the device, whatever the item is, this key automatically changes. So once this key is shifted or changed, then automatically these two will send a message and re-engage. Okay, so symmetric key එක lazy ඇත්තට. Symmetric key encryption is actually something easy, but the thing is, in order for somebody to hack it, හිතමු ඊතන්ට hack කරන්න ඕනේ කියලා. එහෙනම් he has to basically get the key from either one of our devices, and he will have to spoof this network. Spoof කියන්නේ කරි කරලා track කරලා බලන්න මේක කොහෙන්ද යන්නේ කියලා. Then only he will be able to access it and see how it works. Okay, so that is one way. Then we have the public key encryption. So public key encryption is something a bit different, where you have, or where you will have, two different keys. Okay, so one is known as the public key and one will be the private key. So the public key is what I'm going to share with the people, and I do have a private key with me. So when you are sending a message, what you do is you encrypt the message using the public key, and then I will be, since I have the rest of the key with me, I can decrypt that message using that particular encryption. So this is actually the most secured method, where we use this to basically connect with computers. So example is if you take a server which is, let's say, on Amazon, Azure, which is Google Cloud, or any other location, we use these public keys to basically access this server. So the server has a specific key, and using this public key encryption, we create the connection, and we engage with each other. So it's robust, and it's, let's say, extremely secure, because unless you have the key with you, you have no option of accessing. But at the same time, key එක නැති වුණොත් එහෙම අනාතයි. If something happens to the key, then it's going to be a big problem. Sorry. So this is how it basically works. So here, so we have the public key. So let's say this guy is sending a message, a hello message in. So since he has the public key, he sends it with the encryption, the message encrypted with the public key, and then that travels through whatever the medium. So here this will be the internet or the network, wherever the data is being transferred through. And then when it is being received at this end, this will be decrypted using the private key, and then this connection will be established. It's quite straightforward, but the problem is we need multiple keys. දැන් හිතන්න WhatsApp මේක කරා කියලා, WhatsApp මෙහෙම වුණා නම් මල කරදරයක් වෙනවා අපිට. ඒ keys ඉල්ල ඉන්නවා හැමලෑම. And whenever you change something, you will have to get this key and save it on your device, and so on and so forth. So it's a bit of a hassle to do that. So that's why they do use these type of platforms. But whatever said and done, WhatsApp එකේ, I don't know how it works, but they do track the messages somehow. ලස්සනටත් තියෙනවා මට ළඟදී වෙච්ච එකක්. මේ one of my good friends, he told me to, he took a picture and he sent me a picture of this drink. මොකක්ද අර කොලෙස්ටරෝල් වලට බොන්නට හීන්බෝ පිටියද මොකක්ද කියලා තියෙන්නේ. අන්න ඕකක ෆොටෝ එකක් කිව්වා. හරිද? WhatsApp එකේ ෆොටෝ එකක් කිව්වා. So he sent the photo and told me to find that and just to drink it for liver health or something. Anyway, I was like, okay, thank you, and that's it. Next day, when I was browsing Facebook, I'm seeing advertisements of that stupid hempo video thing. Nobody, I have never searched for that online. I have never looked at any place, but he sent this message through WhatsApp, so we can safely assume WhatsApp images and all, they do track up to a certain extent. Okay, so that is about the encryption part. So yes, the messages are getting encrypted, but yes, there are some methods that people can go through. Then we jump into another, the final encryption model, where we talk about wireless encryption protocol, which is also known as WEP. Okay, so this wireless encryption protocol is actually created because we had different types of problems when it comes to the wireless media. Because I think I have showed, so I told you guys about this. I showed you my Flipper Zero. No? Flipper Zero has this add-on where you can actually connect, which is known as the Moroder network. And when you connect it, you can actually spoof on wireless networks. So spoof කියන්නේ ඔයාට පුළුවන් ඔක්කොම දෙන wireless networks ටික track කරලා you can actually communicate with devices. You can basically hack Wi-Fi, right? So if that happens, then there's a problem. Then let's say we are all in a single network. You guys are all in a single network, and I come there with the Moroder kit on and I hack the network. And then, technically speaking, when I jump into the network, as you guys saw during the last class where we saw all these devices connected to the router, likewise, I get access to all your data communication. So I get to see whatever all the communication which goes through, right? So in order to prevent that, we do have this method called WEP, wireless encryption protocol. So what this does is, this will basically encrypt the data packet which travels through the Wi-Fi, through the wireless network, so that it can be only opened through whatever the packet or whatever the location which it's getting received to. So how it works is, this is kind of like an encryption method. So how it works is, it will work on the same network and it will use a key, like a specific key on every transfer, and it will be sent. But the problem is, even this works in a specific way, still this can be hacked up to a certain extent. Okay, there are ways to do this, but it actually prevents the system up to a certain extent. Then we do have this thing called the Wi-Fi protected access, also known as WPA. So this is actually something much more better than the WEP, where WPA actually generates a key for each new device which is on the Wi-Fi network, which will be automatically paired when they connect. Okay, මේ WPA ඔයගලන්ටත් පුළුවන් on කරන්න. I'm not sure if Dinal, in your router, is there a small button called WPA? තියෙනවද එක?
Which one?
In the router, either on the either sides or on the back, is there a button, like a small button where you can press with the label as WPA?
Exactly.
තියෙනවනේ? Okay. It's there. Okay. Don't press it now because it won't do anything. So now remember that interface we went in during the last class. So you can actually try it out. So you can actually log into, not now, just do it later on. You can log into it, and there should be an option known as enable WPA. Okay, so when you enable the WPA, automatically your password gets kicked out. So then when you want to log into the network, you can connect. When you connect, you get a pop-up asking you to go and press that button. So every time when somebody wants to connect to your Wi-Fi, you have to physically go and press it. When you press it, what happens is your router generates specific key and sends it to the device. So that means, like as what we just did with WhatsApp, the router will be allocating specific keys for all the devices. So then if I come there with this Marauder kit and if I try to hack the network, I can be on the network, but I won't be able to communicate with anybody because I don't have a key. මමත් කනෙක්ට් වෙනකොට මටත් මැසේජ් එක එනවා WPA on ගන්න කියලා. ඉතින් හොරෙකුට කරන්න බෑනේ. ඌ ගෙදරට හොරෙක් කඩම් පැනලා ඔක්කොම කරලා බටන් එක වන්නනවා කනෙක්ට් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. So the only cumbersome part is ඉතින් කවුරු හරි ගෙදරට ආවොත් and if they ask access to your network, you have to physically go there and press that button. That's the only thing, but still then again it's safe because nobody else can connect to the network unless you actually physically allow them. Okay, so it's like literally somebody knocking on the door and you open it up, you open the door and let them in again. Something like that. Okay, so I hope it's clear. Shebned, any questions?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Perfect. Okay. Then we jump into VPNs. So VPNs. We talked about VPNs some time back, where I told you guys what a VPN works. What is a VPN? Let me show you just a software which I have installed. Balamu, I should have. Yeah, I have Surfshark. So hold on. I hope it won't turn on. No, it didn't turn on. Okay. So this is a software which I use to connect to the VPN. So this is something which I have purchased. So here you guys can see, I hope you can see this. So so how this VPN works is, first I'll explain you what we have. So you can see we have a massive lot of locations, starting from Albania, Algeria, Argentina, Australia, Austria, Belgium, Bolivia, Brazil. So here we almost have all the countries in the world. So what happens is, now here as we discussed last time, how the internet connection works. So what happens is, when you want to connect to the internet, your system, your network gets connected to the router's network. The router's network connects to the ISP, and the ISP, through the ISP, we jump out. Oh, connecting, cancel. Disconnect. Sorry. Okay. So we get connected to the ISP, and the ISP takes you out to the internet, right? So that in that way, you will be basically connected to the internet and you will browse the internet. But here what it does is, using a VPN, here we have a massive list of countries now. So what we do is, we basically bounce off to one of the servers which is there in those countries. So technically what we do is, this software will prevent the connection from going to the ISP, and it will redirect this connection to one of the servers which is located in one of these countries. Okay, so then your internet will come out from one of these servers. So technically, let's say if I connect to Pakistan, then my connection, if I type what is my IP, it will show me a Pakistan IP. Okay, so I can use to connect any location, Korea, Australia, Pakistan, India, any location which is available here. So I use this for business purposes because sometimes we do get, let's say, um, country or regional restricted projects. So sometimes we get customers who has their websites which is only websites or web applications which are only visible or accessible through or from that country itself. So that means if you try to open it from Sri Lanka, you won't get access because it will say that the connection is blocked, right? So then you have to use a VPN and go to that particular country, and from that country itself you can browse the internet or you can open up that application. Okay, so that is the, so I just showed you an actual example of how it works. So what's the purpose of this? Yes, apart from giving you let's say access to different countries, this also gives you a certain let's say certain security. Okay, because now let's say if you have some let's say you are trying to do something specific which you don't need your internet service provider to see, then you can stop it from being visible. So this is basically is a method where you can prevent the users from looking at your web activity. Okay, as well as in this case making secure payments. Yes, that is also an option because when you're making a payment you can go through a VPN where it will make sure that it works. And you guys know VPNs because during the last couple of years issues we had in Sri Lanka, you all know that we got this social media networks and stuff blocked out. So when that happened, what most of them did was they jumped on a VPN. So then since Facebook and those pages were blocked only to Sri Lanka, when you access from a different country, it works. So people started going around the place and using VPNs to access it. So that is also one advantage where you can get out of internet restrictions, right? As well as, so you guys should know now, countries like China. So if you go to China, Facebook is blocked now. You can't use Facebook and Gmail and Google and anything. So when you are going there, you have to make sure that you use some sort of a VPN because otherwise you're locked out. You can't even use WhatsApp to send a message. So those type of situations, sorry, when you get into those type of situations, using a VPN will make sure that you have the access, right? So I think there are some browsers which comes with inbuilt VPNs, right? So Opera has a VPN as far as I know, and Brave also has a VPN. I'm not exactly sure, but it does. And there are some different platforms which will provide you with free VPNs as well. Okay, so that's the part when it comes to VPN, and we do have like 3 parts. Then we can actually wrap it up. So then we talk about another specific point known as file access rights. Okay, so now this is again one of the most important points when it comes to a network, which you can make sure that you have different access permissions for different users. So I'm not sure whether you guys knew it already. So in Windows, you know that you can protect folders from other users, right? So if you have a folder, let's say you have a user account, and you can actually right click and go to file permissions, and you can protect that folder. You can select only your user account to have full access to it, to view and edit and update and whatnot, do whatever the activities you want. And you can block out the rest of the users. So no one else will be able to access it. Okay, so that feature is there when it comes to the file access, as well as when it comes to networks also you do have that option. So when I was telling you guys about this previous office, what they did, so when you create network user accounts, then you can actually prevent these user accounts from doing any let's say disruptive changes to the PC from these file access policy validations. So you can just completely block it out, and then it will automatically start to then you can automatically work on the permissions. Then finally we have the transaction logs. So transaction logs are the point where you have the option of monitoring the network. So whatever the actions which is being performed on the network, whatever you browse, view, listen to, any activity which happens on the network can be directly monitored based on the transaction logs. Plus, the transaction logs can help to identify now specifically which computers and network devices have been accessed, as well as they can identify and show you who used the internet or the network the most. Okay, so technically you can see how many how, like in basic terms, you can see how many gigabytes they have downloaded. Likewise, okay, so that is also a point. And then yes, we have backups, where backups are basically copies. So you can copy whatever the options or the data you have in your network to a separate location. Okay, so likewise these are the features which you get through a network. Then we jump into the questions. So then we actually wrap that module and we jump into unit 3. Okay, so since I said that I will show you guys about the darknet and how to use it, let me show you a quick example. Okay, so who is using Brave?